Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sethatina Newman. Um, so today I'm going to talk about President Trump rescinding 11-246. But before I do that, I would like to send out my deepest sympathies for the members who lost their lives in the crash over Reagan International, as well as those who lost their lives in Pennsylvania when the plane also went down there. The loss of life is always difficult, and for those family members who are suffering, don't know where their loved ones are, if they did perish, if they're missing, how the accidents happened. I am with you. I am praying for you, and I hope we get some answers soon about both crashes and how we can help to have those not happen again. So again, my deepest sympathies go out to you, family members, friends of all those who perished in the two crashes that have occurred most recently. So today I would like to talk about President Trump's rescinding Executive Order 11-246. Okay. So whether you agree with Trump or you don't agree with Trump, you agree with me or don't agree with me, I have some things for us to think about. Okay. To begin with, yes, 11-246 did continue to support all the previous executive orders regarding working Americans. Okay, the first one was presented in 1941, was presented by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it was to support African Americans going to work in what was previously segregated defense companies. Okay. During World War 1941, during World War II, African Americans were banned. No, 41. World War I, sorry. African Americans were banned from going and helping the war effort in companies that were segregated. Okay, they were kept out of working in those companies. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "No, I don't think so. That needs to stop. We need to have everybody helping, and if they're willing to come in here and work for the war effort, then yeah, they need to be here." So that was the first executive order, getting rid of discrimination. Since then, there have been numerous acts protecting civil rights and prohibiting discrimination against anyone based on race, sex, color, religion, or national origin. Okay, so the Act of 1964, this act was outlined for private contractors, private companies such as private employers, labor unions, employment agencies. Okay, so all of those places could not discriminate against race, sex, color, religion, or national origin. So it didn't matter where you came from. Companies could not discriminate against you because you were Asian, because you were Swedish, because you were Irish. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were black, yellow, if you were purple. They could not discriminate against you because you had those differences. that is still in effect now. Okay. Now, this act provided that people could not be discriminated against for being hired, could not be discriminated against for their wages, could not be discriminated against for their assignments, for their promotions, for their benefits, for their discipline, for their discharge, for being laid off, or almost anything, every aspect of employment. So just because you are African American, Asian, white, Swedish, German, it doesn't matter. If you have the skills to perform a job, you could not be passed over just because of your nationality, just because of your sex. It doesn't matter if you're a male or female. You could not be passed over for a promotion because you are younger than somebody else. If you are performing at optimum level and you are performing above requirements and you had the skills necessary to complete the job, then you deserve that promotion. Same with wages. And unfortunately, this is something we still struggle with. It does not matter what your sex. It does not matter what your religion. It does not matter what your race, what your national origin, what your religion. None of that matters. If you are performing at the same level as another employee, then you are expected to get the same salary. If you're doing job A and Mr. Fujiwatts that's over here is also doing the same job, then you deserve the same wages, the same salary, the same hourly rate, whatever the payment is. Okay? Benefits, same thing. Just because a woman might get pregnant doesn't mean that her benefits should be higher than a man's benefits. They're the same. Okay? Benefits are the same across the board. Family Leave Act helped to provide that so that, yes, the woman gets time off, but now fathers do too. I think that is an excellent idea because it's not just the woman's job to take care of the family anymore. Just like it's not just the man's job to work outside the home. Unfortunately, in our economic times, we require a two-income family. We are really to live in any capacity where you're not out on the street requires two incomes. Our economic status is that of which we have no choice anymore. We can't have just one person staying at home and one person in the family working. Unfortunately, both parents have to work, and sometimes even older siblings have to work to help make ends meet. But regardless, the whole point of all of these discrimination laws, discrimination acts, discrimination, executive orders is to make sure that employers, companies, organizations are all hiring people based on their skill level and not based on their nationality, race, color, creed, or any of those things. It's based on the person themselves and their ability. Now, 11246 helped an additional area of our employment, and that is anybody receiving federal funds or a federal contractor. Okay. The Act of 64 covered the general employment arena. It didn't cover federally funded programs. It didn't cover federally funded organizations. It didn't cover education organizations that received federal funding. It didn't cover federal organizations themselves, CIA, FBI, so forth. So because, what was it called? Because of the acts leading up to private employers and labor unions didn't cover those federal funds and federal agencies, Lyndon B. Johnson said, okay, we need to do something more. So 11264 came about. And he said that now these organizations cannot discriminate based on race, sex, religion, national origin, and color. You cannot hire people or not hire. You cannot discriminate against people because of these things. If you receive federal funding, if you are a federal organization, you cannot discriminate against people because of these things. Okay? None of these talked about what President Trump is trying to get rid of, which is DEI or DEIA, which ironically stands for diversity, making sure that everybody has an opportunity to be employed at any location, diverse group of people. Equity, meaning everybody gets equal pay, equal promotions based on their abilities. Inclusion and accessibility, meaning, let's say I have the cognitive level to be an engineer, but let's say I'm in a wheelchair. So does that mean that I can't be an engineer because I can't get into my building and my office that's up on the second floor because there's no elevator? Okay, no, then there needs to be something done so that I have access to my job. Are you going to not hire me because I'm in a wheelchair? No, that's under the Rehabilitation Act of 64. So yes, there are acts that keep employers from discriminating against people of differing races, abilities, religions, color, national origin. Yes, there are all of these things. Unfortunately, because somebody at some point in time decided, you know what? None of the laws that are out there now specifically say that I have to hire person B. So I'm not going to. That's why we have to keep making these amendments. Amendment and amending and amending and amending because somebody finds that little loophole and doesn't play fair with the rest of the population. Guess what? That's not going to work. But yet, President Trump is taking away everything from Executive Order 11246 forward and saying, nope, none of this applies anymore. I don't care. He's basically saying that as long as it is covered under the Civil Rights Act, then everything is fine. But as I explained, not everything is covered under that. Not everything, it went, and he's pointing this out by his firing and hiring of people, that in the government, in the federal government, in federal programs, you're not allowed diversity. You're not allowed inclusion. You're not allowed equity. So all of the people that he has been firing for DEI or DEIA, he's basically going against the Civil Rights Act. He's now saying that, you can't work here if you're different. Sorry, but only in the federal locations. Schools, he's banning DEI. They receive federal funding. The FBI, the CIA. I saw a picture of the qualities of the FBI being painted over. Fairness, inclusion, diversity, all of the things that the FBI has always stood for was being painted over with gray paint. Really? So who is President Trump, going to put into these positions? Are we going to have a diverse group of people looking over our country? Are we going to have a diverse group of people protecting the American people of this country? Or are we going to have care of everything? He's protecting the American people's rights by getting rid of inclusion for those who might need different accessibilities. He's protecting the American people by making sure any company that receives federal funding doesn't have that diversity, doesn't have those great minds coming together and working together. He is separating people. He is separating Americans into categories. He's saying he's taking that away, by not having Black History Month. He's making us all equal by getting rid of those labels that separate us. I'm sorry, there are some separations. My husband and I are not the same gender. He's a man, I'm a woman. There's a separation. That doesn't mean that we're not equal. That doesn't mean that we're not the same when it comes to our love. So why do we have to take away the labels that give us our individuality, that give this country its diversity, that helps celebrate the diversity and the melting pot that is the United States of America? We came here to this country, all immigrants. We came from every country on this planet to the United States to what is now the United States of America. Why can't we continue to celebrate that? It doesn't have to be a crutch. It is a joy. It is a celebration. And Mr. President Trump, is turning it into a war. I don't want war in the United States of America from other countries or from each other. Scrolling through X today, I saw more hate videos than I saw of helping videos. I saw more hate videos and people beating up on other people today than I saw of any other video at all on X. Why? Because it is, again, cultural differences against cultural differences. It is color difference against color difference. It is religious difference against religious difference. Why? Because the leader of our country is pushing it. He says he's taking away the labels. Those labels don't make us who we are. Those labels help us to know the differences that we can celebrate and teach to each other. That helps with the diversity and the thought process and the thinking and the creating and the knowledge that goes on in this country. I hope and I pray that the Supreme Court, that somebody, that people, that groups will take this information and will take it to the Supreme Court and fight against President Trump. I am only one person, but I encourage you, comment on my video, comment on what you think is good or bad. If you disagree with me, tell me, but tell me why. I've given you reasons as to why I disagree with Trump rescinding 11246. I would love to hear why you think his executive order is good, is beneficial. I've given you reasons why it's not. Help me to see the other way. I'm not saying I'll change my mind. I'm not saying that I won't change my mind. Say, total access to the entire treasury and where all the money is going. I understand I understand that, President Trump wants to understand and know where all the money's going. But Elon Musk and his Doge group, they should not have access to everything. No. There are certain things that a civilian should not have access to. Sorry. Even as a civilian, if I was the president, I would not have access to everything that the Treasury and that the government pays for. Okay? There are certain things that are covert, and it needs to stay that way. So no, he should not have access, and he should not be denying access to those employees that have to pay for the government, that have to pay other government employees. So no, that is not the best way to investigate where our money is being spent. You go to the directors, you talk to the CEOs, you talk to whoever is at the highest level and paying everything. You talk to those people and you investigate. You don't just take over. That's called a dictatorship, when you just take over. Authoritarian government, when you just take over instead of investigate. So no, his 2 weeks in office, we have seen so many changes. And sure, change is good when it makes sense. His executive orders are ridiculous. They've already caused problems, and he needs to be reeled in, plain and simple. The Republican Party needs to stand up and say, yeah, we backed you, but no, you can't just go gung-ho and take over everything. There is an executive branch, a legislative branch, and I forgot the other branch. And the law branch, the Supreme Court. Okay? Legal branch, that's what it is. So there's 3 branches of the government. He can't just decide to do everything himself. That's a dictatorship. We do not live in that. So please help me understand if you do support President Trump. If you agree with me, please let me know why. I look forward to reading your comments on TikTok, Instagram, and X, and I am also on YouTube. So anything you have to offer, I appreciate your comments. Have a great night, and I will see you next week. Thanks a lot. Stay safe, everyone.